Good morning and welcome to H3 TV, where we show people and share with people how to stay hopeful, healthy, and happy in the storms of our lives, whether those are the storms of COVID or the Great Recession or people resigning. We are here to encourage you on your journey. And so I do my best to meet with you every Wednesday with a new guest, and we talk about storms and we talk about hope and health and happiness. And we hope that our words, our ideas, and our strategies are of encouragement to you personally and professionally so that you can live your best life. Today, I have my friend Christine with us. Please help me welcome Christine to the stage. Christine, good morning. Thanks
Good
for being
morning,
with us.
Annie. Thank you so much for inviting me to join you.
Absolutely. Tell our listeners a little bit about who you are, what do you do, where do you live?
I own an association management company, which means I take care of the back end of organizations such as the financials and the day-to-day activities, the website, event planning, etc. I also manage some small businesses, and again, it's doing the same sort of administrative end of things. And I work with a really small group of clients that I've had for years. I love what I do. I have a passion for member groups, and I have a passion for watching and helping people grow.
Excellent. I love that. If people have questions or comments for myself or Christine throughout the show, at any time, feel free to leave those in the comment box. So, Christine, really what I'm thinking about as I'm getting ready to produce my 8th book is weathering the storms of our life. And so, when I say to you, what does weathering the storms mean to you? What are storms? What does weathering it mean? How would you define weathering the storms of your life?
Oh, such a good question, and we could probably talk for hours on that. I'm guessing. I think it can mean so many things. I know the mental illness is in such a large component of what's going on in society, and for me, storms have been everything from anxiety to a divorce to um, death and loss and the loss of a child and all of these things and navigating a marriage now that I'm so incredibly blessed to have and understanding that this has just all been a part of the path and that I've learned from everything that has happened in my life.
Yeah. So storms
Yeah.
encompass many things. I agree. I think
Does.
there's professional storms when things aren't working out at work. There's personal storms when things aren't working out at home. And there's literal storms that people go through, right? There's so many things. What has been a storm that has really impacted your life personally? Sounds like you had a few there, but is there one that
Yeah, yeah, and I could probably go on for a long time, even discussing others. I lost a child that we had adopted. Oh, this is 35 years ago now, and that I still wonder about her. It was a tough situation, and it took me a long time to recover from that. And like I'm is going to be what I say throughout this show is it's my faith that has gotten me through everything and understanding that everything that happens has its purpose. You may not see it at the time. Most of the time I don't see it at the time, but understanding that it makes me a better person in the long run. It makes me more empathetic and understanding and all of those great things that really God wants us to be and to move into. I've had professional disappointments as well, and I think everybody has. And it's what do I learn from that? Where am I supposed to take that, and how do I grow?
yeah.
Um, I think when you get to the point in life, and I've hit that certain age where I'm less about pleasing people and more about saying, you know what, I'm I'm pleasing God, and then the people who are in my life are the people who are supposed to be in my life. And
Mhm.
situations happen, and you just roll through it knowing, "All right, God, you've got a plan here. I don't know what it is. I don't like where I am. I'm really uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
yet I know you have a plan, and whatever is going on, this isn't it's happening for your reasons."
Yeah. Well, first, I want to say I'm sorry for the loss of your child. Your daughter, was it a daughter?
Yeah, yes.
A daughter you had adopted. In my work and in my role, I often more often than I would think, meet parents that have buried a child. And I think it's one of the hardest things. And I also think it's a lifelong journey of healing, and no one gets to tell you, hurry up or whatever. But I love, Christine, that you're saying, there's lessons in it. I'm a huge believer that in every storm, if we choose to stay open, there's lessons, and that we can use them for good, and we can use them to help someone else on their path. And I'm amazed by the parents that then can heal enough to reach out and support another parent as they walk through that horrific and painful journey. So thank you for sharing that. So I know you said faith, but when it's dark, when life is overwhelming, those storms press us down, how do you stay hopeful? What have been some of the strategies or tools or routines or disciplines that you've used to stay hopeful in the midst of your storms?
I have a great support network. My I'm going to try to hold it together here.
You don't have to.
My
Tears are welcome on the H3 TV show.
my husband is incredible beyond words. And my mother, I literally wouldn't be here without her. And my sister. And having that really strong call you at 2 a.m. I just need to talk. I've joked with a really good friend of mine, hey, I may call you at 2 a.m. and hey, I'm in jail. I need bail money. Don't ask questions. Just come pick me up, kind of thing. And those are the relationships that you lean on when things are rough, because in turn, then they're leaning on you when life is rough for them, and it has been for all these people. They've all had their stuff that we've ridden through together. Coping skills is a tough. I always go to prayer, but then there's the tangible of, yes, that is crucial, but is what am I doing in daily life? And along with anxiety, I tend to feed my emotions. So my first thought is, okay, what's in the fridge? If it's beyond like 10 a.m, what's in the bar? What do we have for wine or whatever? And obviously those long-term don't solve the problem and can create their own issues. But it's really, I'm learning. I worked with an executive coach about 2 years ago, and I'm really learning to just live the feelings, let them out, but give them some parameters. I'm not going to wallow in this for days or whatever that appropriate parameter is. Go, all right, we've walked through this. Now it's time to move forward and go, now what is our action plan? And so for me, creating an action plan then is so crucial. Okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do now? Because that's the propellant.
What am I going to do, and what can I do? Like some things we can't do, but some things we
Right.
can. I love that you said you have a great support system.
Yeah.
I love prayer. Prayer is an essential, but then great support system. But what you said about your great support system, and I think this is important for listeners, is these people that are your great support system have been through their own journey.
Yeah.
Because if we try to go to people that have not been through a journey, not that we haven't all been through something, but authentic, vulnerable people that they've had their own share of struggles and they've shared with you and you shared with them, makes it a safe place to go and say, hey, I don't know, I'm just sad, or it doesn't make sense. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. And you're really blessed to have family members that you have that, and an amazing husband. But we know not all our listeners have that. And so I always just say, seek it. And sometimes that means going and finding a support group where you don't know anyone, but inside of it, you might find one friend. You might be different than many, but find one person, having a coach. I love that, Christine. I'm a coach as well. And when I work with clients, I say, sometimes you do have to pay to have a supportive accountability person that will always show up and you can guarantee it. And so people having great relationships. I'm kind of doing an analogy on storms right now. And I think there's like this stillness piece, but then there's open to relationships of people that can support you. So I love that you're sharing that.
Yeah.
How have you stayed healthy? Because you kind of talked about, and it's really easy when we're stressed to turn to food or alcohol, but that doesn't always serve us. And so what have you done to stay healthy in the midst of that stress and sadness that comes with storms?
I have really found, especially we moved out to the country 2018-ish. And I have really found that getting my feet on the ground, touching the earth, Obviously a little challenging in the winter when it's 30 below, but getting outside, it's the fresh air. We happen to be blessed to be on some acreage that we have no neighbors, and we're on a lake, a private lake, and and I literally step outside, and my husband and I talk about this all the time. Thank you, God. Look at where we get to live. We love where we are, and we're so incredibly blessed. And so for me, that's a total reset of, okay, there is stuff going on, but it isn't everything. It's not encompassing my whole world when I can really take that breather and literally look outside of me.
Yeah. I love that. I was thinking, I always believe movement's medicine. So
Yeah.
just getting outside that physical movement, gratitude shifts our mindset from poor me to look what I have, abundance, and then being able to think about generosity, getting beyond ourselves. Like, I am blessed. How can I serve another person? I am lucky. Not everybody. I always remind myself, living at the ocean now, some people never see the ocean in their lifetime. I get to look at it every day from my desk. So I try to ask God, please don't let me take this
For granted. Yeah.
for granted, this lake for granted, this nature that you recognize. Look at, I am grateful for all of this.
Yeah.
I like that. How about happiness? So when sadness steals our joy in a storm, how do you get back to happiness? Do you know what makes you happy and you can go back there quickly, or how do you rediscover happiness?
I love music. I happen to be a lover of the late 70s and 80s music, and that just brings me right back to my core. I love praise and worship music, and I'm really eclectic in kind of what I listen to and where I listen. Um, and talking with friends, talking with family, for me, what starts it is getting out of my own head, which is really hard to get out of sometimes. And I know we've all been there. Um, I I started taking in some chickens last year. And
Okay.
so now my little chicken world has expanded, and that's a whole nother show. But they bring me joy. And that it's those little things in life that are really the big things. And in these animals, I see God. I see his creation. I watch them hatch their little eggs and watch them bring little life into their world. And that's just God working. And I look and go, I know I'm important to God, but I'm just a little grain of sand in the in on the entire universe. And it kind of puts me in perspective anyway.
Yeah, and I totally agree. Love all those things, and
Yeah.
love our puppies, and love music.
Yep.
What I really think is important, Christine, and thinking about, is that you know now, and that's what I sometimes think. I want people's toolbox to be full prior to the storm hitting, because if I don't know what brings me joy, and I'm just like grinding through every day, but don't have these moments of music and animals and nature and friends, then when storms hit, I'm not as prepared. So I love that you already have kind of your strategy kit, I would call it, of
Yeah.
the things that do. I can just envision those little chicks. Um, what about when you look back? Let's focus maybe on your daughter, losing your beautiful daughter that you had adopted. And you said it was a hard situation, which I know adoption can be, and so many things. Was it a sudden death that she passed? Was it?
No, actually, it was a failed adoption. And she, through a long series of events, there were laws in the state that did not end up taking care of both sides equally. And so she is still out there. I don't know where she is, which is hard because it's yeah. And so again, it's one of those things that my then husband and I worked on some legislation to change the laws and update things, and we worked with the agency that we had originally done all this with, and they've changed their guidelines along the way. And so I believe, have helped other people not have to experience what we did, but it didn't. It was a long time. It was a long process, and it's one of those things in life.
Yeah. I love that story, because I teach people the way that we find our purpose is through pain,
Yeah.
if we're open to it. So you took the pain of this failed adoption, the inability to adopt a daughter that you had already become your daughter in your heart,
Yeah.
and it becomes fuel in our body and it can make us physically sick. And what I say is that fuel in your body is actually passion burning, and that
Mhm.
burning can give us a gut ache, a headache, a backache. But if you choose to take your pain and
Mhm.
that passion to equal at the equal sign, you make the choice to be bitter the rest of your life or better, and you're
Yeah.
choosing to be better, but not only for yourself, but saying, hey, I'm going to use this fuel, this energy, this passion to go change some laws, to go stand up to make things better for the next person so they don't have to face the same pain and storm. And that's what I love, helping people discover their purpose through their pain and their fuel, their passion to become. Somebody wrote a note here. So they said, as I'm sitting in my current storm, I
Mhm.
felt I felt it coming before it hit. I prayed as I entered my office that day and said, Jesus, you already know what my day will bring. You've already been here. Please be with me and see me through. I know there is a lesson in all of this. While it was so hard, I think it's so important to know that there is a lesson in the storm. We may not see it while we are in the storm, absolutely, but I am hoping to see it and get it once I am through the other side. And I love that, Christina. There, my final S in storms is the silver lining. And I think when we get through our storm, if we are stay open and we keep believing and staying hopeful and healthy and happy, we can look back and go, oh my gosh, this has made me a kinder person, more
Mhm.
compassionate, empathetic. Losing my brother to suicide makes me so driven to talk about mental health, to talk about, like, let's remove the stigma and silence and shame around addiction, around unplanned pregnancy, around mental health, so that people don't suffer their whole life and lose their life too young, or don't have the life that they were created to have. So thank you for sharing that. Another Christy, sharing with us this morning. One last question for you. If you, as you look back on not having it work out with your daughter, if you could do one thing differently, if you could change either how you went through that storm or how you reacted to the storm, what would you have done more of or less of or differently?
Mhm. I I don't know that I would have done anything differently. Um, I loved her with my whole heart the second I knew she was coming, and we gave her a name that was very important to us, and it was family related, and I was incredibly blessed to be surrounded by such a tight network to get me through that. I don't know. Nobody Part of it is nobody saw it coming. The signs were not there on the adoption agency end.
Mm,
That there and so I don't know that I could have done anything.
okay.
We and yeah, but it's a great question, and I know that I've done a lot of introspection on that and really thought about what that could have looked like in an alternate reality, and I'm at I'm at peace with it because it's one of those things that it was an ugly storm, but we do get through it. And for the person that just wrote that the comment that you read out loud, I'm praying for you, and you will get through the storm because we all do. And if you don't have a network and you need to reach out to somebody, you're welcome to reach out to me because I've been through my own storms of all kinds, and am honored to help other people through their storms if you know when they want.
And I think even your words today, you already are helping people through their storm. And that's so generous of you to offer for them to reach out to you. And I think maybe one wisdom, I'm not saying anybody does anything wrong in storm or does it differently, is I always think, like, I know people said, when you move to Florida, there might be hurricanes. And I was like, I am not living in fear. I am living in hope and living in love. And I think that reality that in adoption, in Florida, these are things that can happen. I don't think they should lead our life. I don't think the fear of an adoption falling through should stop us from putting ourselves out there with ultimate love like you did and all that. But maybe the lesson that I think about with adoption, and I'm a birth mom, so I've placed a child, is that it doesn't always work out. And reality is that it doesn't always work out when we give birth to kids. I mean, there's a lot of challenges along
Right.
the way, right? So
Yep.
I think you've learned that lesson and you have great wisdom. Oh, someone else here is saying, are all traditional storms, speaking of daughters, can't
Storms.
wait, can't we
Oh,
all do better in our relationships? Yeah.
that's really
Oh,
good.
are all transitions, storms. Stephen, I think that's for you to define. There's no right or wrong answer to me on what a storm is. As I write and create and reflect, I think a little thing we were talking about, we're working on this book, and we were talking about there's 5 categories of storms, right? So there's storms. I'm teasing, and please don't be offended out there if you're a bald man. Some of my best friends are bald men, but I'm like, I can't be friends with a bald man because they don't know what a bad hair day is. And a bad hair day is a category 1 storm to me. Like my curly hair will just do whatever it wants. So storms vary. I think one really important thing as human beings is that we need to not minimize someone else's storm. So losing a job to someone, they might say, so what, there's plenty of jobs, or you only dated for 3 months, or we talked about miscarriages this week that people discount them. Well, the baby wasn't even born, or, you weren't married. We should never discount someone else's storm, because if it's painful for them and it feels like a storm, then it is a storm. And so I like to say, you get to define what is a storm, and you get to define what category from 1 to 5 it is affecting you mentally, emotionally, physically. And sometimes storms are small, but they're so distracting that we're not as good at our work, and then it affects our work, or it affects our finances, our relationship. So I love, Christine, that you started us here with, there's lots of different storms, right? And you've been through many, and you're still going forward. I'm not saying you're through them all, because as long as we're alive, we're either in a storm, coming out of a storm, or going into one, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And daughters can be storms, and they can be beautiful gifts as well. So I think many sides to all of it. So Christine, if people want to learn more about you or your membership, or reach out to you, where is the best place? Is there one place that you focus the majority of your time? Is it a website or a LinkedIn?
You are welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest. My business name is Admin Branding Box, and the website is adminbrandingbox.com. Otherwise, LinkedIn, I'm watch that pretty frequently, and I'm engaged. So I'm happy to help people however I can.
Excellent.
We're always trying to get through. We're all trying to figure it out and move forward.
We are. That's what I think. Like one of my very good girlfriends and I, we talk about grace for me, grace for you, right? Like we're all on our journey doing the best we can. And we all have a lot of balls in the air often, no matter what stage of life we're in, and just having grace for ourselves and grace for other people. TR wrote, you may be at the cross now and things look very bad, but the cross was needed to give the resurrection. Exactly. TR. Yeah. So that's the thing. We all have a cross to bear. I love in scripture when it says, if you want to, or when not in scripture, but when people say, do you want to lay down your cross and trade it? Like you might think that you got the hardest life. People will say to me, I'm amazed you're so optimistic after all you've been through. And I'm always like, yeah, but who am I to not go through stuff? We all have our stuff we get to go through. And sometimes we feel like we're on the other side, and then we're right back starting over again. So, well, thank you so much for being with me. Please share your website in the comments on our social media so people can connect with you. And thank you so much for joining me on H3 TV for our final Wednesday in April. I appreciate you. And any last thoughts you want to share with our listeners?
No, I'm just so blessed, and we've known each other for a long time, and it's always great to see you. I love what you do, and I'm just really blessed and happy to help you.
Thank you. And thank you for being willing to help other people too.
Yes, absolutely.
And we need each other. We're created for communities.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week on H3 TV. Thanks for being with us.